Steiner expects a $200 million F1 dilution fund to be adjusted in the future. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's how the expression goes. But does it really apply to F1 and the possibility of an additional team to the list? Welcome to F1 Freaks. Today we'll be analysing Gunther Steiner's opinion on the F1 dilution fund and the possible inclusion of a new team to the F1 grid. For starters, the dilution fund is currently pegged at $200 million, and it is what any new entrant must pay before joining the Formula One grid. The current teams in the Formula, which are 10 in number, agreed on a $200 million dilution fund in 2020. The Concord Agreement, signed in 2020, dictates that any new team must pay a $200 million fee, which gets split evenly between existing entrants to offset the loss in revenue caused by splitting prize money between 11 teams instead of 10. However, since the agreement was signed, Formula One has continued to go from strength to strength, particularly in the US, with ESPN reportedly signing a new lucrative TV rights deal in the States worth up to $90 million a year. What this connotes is that as F1 continues to grow commercially and team values increase, doubts have been raised about this one-time payment being enough to make up for the dilution of the prize money fund. Haas Formula One boss Gunther Steiner expects the $200 million fees for new entrants to the series to be adjusted to reflect the increased value of teams. The dilution fund was set a few years ago when the formula for Formula One was different, Steiner told Motorsport.com. I think one of the things will be, should we readjust it to current market rate, which is a lot more than that one, but I think that's a very difficult process, he continued. But if you're really honest, and you look at when we signed the contract in 2020, teams were going for a lot less money than these days. The sport has made a big progression in value, so at some stage, it will be adjusted. But I don't think that is the biggest issue, he said. In 2021, F1 attracted interest from the American racing marque Andretti Autosport. Andretti came close to securing involvement in F1 through a majority takeover of the Sauber Group, which runs Alfa Romeo's team, only for the deal to fall through later. Andretti had hoped to get a place on the F1 grid through a takeover of Alfa Romeo's branded Sauber team last year. However, at the 11th hour, with contracts due to be signed, the owners said they wanted to retain some control over the organisation. After seeing the bid for Sauber fall through last year, the collapse of that deal, and the fact that no other team is for sale, has pushed Andretti to try to create an F1 team. Michael Andretti is still firm in his course, as he confirmed his Andretti Autosport racing outfit was targeting a Formula One entry by 2024. Only McLaren and Alpine have appeared to support the push by Michael Andretti to establish an 11th F1 team. The Associated Press reported that Andretti was going team by team to make his case and attempted to secure support signatures. According to The Athletic, Andretti believes he has half the teams behind him. However, images captured on the 7th of May showed only 2 signatures on the document: Laurent Rossi, chief executive of Alpine, and Zak Brown, chief executive of McLaren. In supporting Andretti, Zak Brown, the McLaren chief executive, hails Andretti's arrival as a great boost to F1. He talks about increasing the sport's sponsorship exposure in the US by more than $100 million a year. Others, though, are not convinced. The chief concern for the skeptics is that the arrival of a new team will dilute the shared commercial rights income. Also, both Audi and Porsche look set to enter F1 under the revised power unit regulations in 2026, but would do so via partnerships with existing teams, thought to be Porsche's plan with Red Bull, or potentially acquiring another entry. Liberty Media CEO Greg Maffei stayed coy on the possibility of Porsche and Audi joining, but said, "We've heard the president and CEO of the Volkswagen Group make some statements that suggest that they're interested. We'll take it only on his word." So as it stands, Andretti Autosport is still the one with the strongest push. In comes the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. With F1 increasing in valuation and none of the remaining teams looking to sell, and their valuations predicted to nearly $1 billion in the coming years, many have emphasized protecting the value of the current grid and rewarding their investment. The current teams in Formula One, which are 10 in number, are Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Alpine, AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Williams, Alfa Romeo, and lastly, Haas. Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, would it hurt for another team to join? Won't they be bringing in more money? The financial impact seems to be the major concern in adding another team to the field. Well, F1 CEO and President Stefano Domenicali has something to say about this. Domenicali has questioned the need to add an 11th team to the grid, noting the health of the existing field amid the series' current boom. While speaking at the Business of F1 forum organised by the Financial Times and Motorsport Network in Monaco, Domenicali said it was the first time in my life that every F1 team was healthy and no one was struggling financially. They are very solid, and this is something that is a big reward for them, Domenicali said. He said that any new entry would have to be really significant and that he thought 10 teams was the right number for the series. They've invested in us, and that's the reason why we do believe the community of the teams has to be respected. Today, it's not a problem of having more teams because we have a list, Domenicali said. Some of them are more vocal than others, but we have a lot of people or a lot of investors who would like to be in Formula One, but we need to protect the teams. This is really another sign of a very healthy system, he concluded. However, multiple team principals voiced reservations about a potential Andretti entry to the Formula One during a press conference on the 7th of May. Toto Wolff of Mercedes said, "If a team comes in, how can you demonstrate that you're bringing in more money than it's actually costing? An 11th team means a 10% dilution in prize money for everybody else. So, if one is able to demonstrate that, then we should all be sitting on the table. But that hasn't been demonstrated yet." The value of Formula One is that it's a limited amount of franchises, and we don't want to dilute the value by just adding teams. It makes total logical sense to say that the 10 teams have an intrinsic value, and you dilute that by increasing the number, echoed Christian Horner of Red Bull. Frederic Vasseur and Gunther Steiner of Alfa Romeo and Haas went further with their remarks. "We don't have to be welcoming someone new to put at risk 2 or 3 teams on the grid," said Vasseur. "I think that we have enough space to find partnership with the team existing on the grid more than to welcome another one." Gunther Steiner shares the same view. As for him, he believes the current grid size works for the global motorsport series and that the stability and health of existing entrants should not be put at risk. "You've got 10 very good teams or good teams. They're all stable," said Steiner. "Why should we change something if it works like this? At the moment, we are in a good place." Steiner added, "If Formula One management wants to distribute more money or something, that is another discussion. But just to have more teams, more doesn't mean being better. The question is whether the dilution fund should be adjusted to reflect the current value of F1 teams as Steiner expects. Would non-responsive teams still be opposed to the idea of an 11th team in Formula One? Or they'll be sticking to not fixing it since it's not broken? Well, if we were to answer that, we'll say we have a feeling they wouldn't mind, and neither would Steiner. We doubt they'll turn down an opportunity to make more money, as every team is practically fighting for its interests. But hey, don't take our word for it. This brings us to the end of the video. We hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it for you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click on the bell icon for notifications when we upload more videos like this.